Hello, Michigan gardeners. This is Doug at Buzzard Family Farm. We're located just outside of Marshall, Michigan on Verona Road. Today I'm doing a renovation project in the garden. There's an area in the perennial flower gardens that has kind of become overgrown with some things that I don't particularly want. So I'm going to dig some of those things out and then plant some new perennials in there. It is Saturday, April 22nd. Doesn't feel like Saturday, April 22nd. It's very, very cool. We haven't had a lot of rain recently, but there's enough moisture in the ground that this project is still a great one to do. And if you're thinking about redoing an area in your garden, the cool weather is a perfect time to either get it ready for when you're going to plant some warm season annuals or perennials, or it's a great time to just start planting cool weather plants or just about perennials of any kind that aren't coming out of a very warm hothouse. This is the area that I'm going to be working on, and I'm going to break the video now and show you a little more detail about what I'm going to be doing. So here's the lay of the land here. I've got Karl Forster grass in the back, and I did a video recently on digging and dividing that. So if that's something you want to do, you really want to get at it pretty quickly because it's got quite a bit of top growth now. But that's kind of the background for this particular area. Then I've worked really hard to try to make that middle area into a coneflower area. I just want the coneflowers to seed and be natural there. And that's what they'll do. And they have done it over time. And in the front is a perennial geranium that acts as a border. And that plant right there is one of the campanulas. The bellflower is called Tellum Blue, I think, is the name of it. It's been so many years. I guess I could read my tag, which says Tellum Beauty. So that's been there so many years, and it seeds around too. So the coneflowers and a little bit of the bellflower seed there in the middle area, Karl Forster in the background, and a perennial geranium for edging. Then as you come this way, this is what I'm going to work on. This is a switchgrass called Prairie Fire. I like it a lot, but you can see that there's perennial phlox that's been seeding around. Over here is a perennial phlox called David. It's white, it's perfumed, it's beautiful. I love it. But this one over here is a seedling. That's a seedling. And those seedlings often come back as a different color than the white pretty phlox that I started with, which is called David. They often come back as kind of a muddy purple, pinkish color. Some people do like it. I don't mind having a little bit of it, but it can eventually crowd out the David phlox and you won't have any white left. All you'll have is those seedlings that take over, and you'll have that one pinkish purpley kind of color, lavender kind of color. So I'm going to get those out. And then over here is really the main part of the renovation. Occasionally there is a coneflower right there that seeded itself in, and I'm just going to move that back over here into my coneflower area. And then this is a loose stripe here, which used to be variegated. There's a little sprig right here that shows you what's left of the variegation. And oftentimes perennials that are variegated, over time, if you don't keep after the non-variegated shoots coming up, they will take over and your variegated perennial will just disappear. So I just don't want that loose stripe. It's a Lysomachia. I don't want that in here anymore. And I don't want these volunteer phlox that are everywhere too. So I'm going to be digging out this whole area. And I'm going to be replacing it with, along the front, a shorter bee balm. It's called grape gumball, I think. It's a purpley color. It's a new perennial we're trying this year. And I've seen it other places. It's really pretty. And it's a low growing one. It's only maybe a foot, maybe a foot and a half high. So it's not one of your tall bee balms. I'll put that in the front along the border here. And then in back, I'm still debating, but I think that I'm going to clean up that sedum over there, as well as plant some Gina phlox, which is a great pollinator. It's a very tall phlox, very late blooming. It's kind of the perfect time for some of the pollinators as they're kind of making the bridge between the summer flowers and the goldenrod and the later flowers that come later in the summer. So I'm gonna, I think, put that in the background, and then again beyond that will be the David phlox, and I'll get those sedum cleaned up also. So that's the big project today, and I'll do a little bit of a video of digging it out and hauling that stuff away, and then I'm going to add lots of compost, and then I'm going to till it up really good with my spade, and then plant the new perennials in and give them a drink of water. And because it's so cool again, it should be a really easy thing to do, and I won't have to be out here watering it every day, which would have happened if I'd planted during that 80-degree weather we had a week and a half ago or so. So again, I'm gonna stop the video, and I'll pick it up again when I'm starting to dig some of this out so you can see that. So I've begun the process, and I'm just going to film a little bit of removing some of the things that I don't want. And so you want to have a pail nearby where you can throw some of the old things that you don't want anymore. This is the Lysimachia. Again, once in a while, I'm finding a piece of the variegated one, which I like, and I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to replant it somewhere else and see if I can get the variegation to come back again. But this is what it's reverted to, and it's just a plain green thing. Lots of roots, classic Lysimachia or loose strife, and so I want to get it out of here. So it takes a little bit of teasing. And then the volunteer phlox is going to come out pretty hard too, because it's a little more rugged than the original phlox David was. The seedlings always tend to have a little vigor, but they're kind of reverting to their wild form, which is again that color that I don't really want. So I just go ahead and pull. And then I found a coneflower, which again I'm going to replant over in this area over here. So I'm going to keep that. But you get the idea, and I'll bring you back in and finish the video when I've added compost and I'm going to plant in my new perennials. So I've cleaned everything out of that area. I got rid of the volunteer phlox that I didn't want, and I've added 4 good-sized buckets of compost. This is going to be, if you're doing a renovation, one of the only times in the next few years that you get to work in nutrients and loosen that soil up. So not only did I spade it several times to try to get any of those lingering roots from the loosestrife and the phlox out of there, like I said, I added 4 buckets of compost, and then I worked that in. And I've got my 3 Gina phlox, which is a tall pink phlox, as I said, that blooms late in the season. I dug those from another part of the garden, so I've got nice sized plants. I'm putting those 3 in there, and then along the front, I've got 3 of these grape gumball, shorter bee balms or monardas that I'm going to plant. And we dug these earlier out of the field. I'm just going to 3 of those in. And then through the summer, I'll need to just be extra careful in this area because of the compost. There are going to be weeds that come. Your plants like to grow with the compost, but so do a lot of the weeds, especially since some of this was horse manure, and the horses eat a lot of weedy seeds in the horse pasture, but also I mixed in some cow manure, and so that's going to have some weed seeds too. But then you've got an area renovated. Keep after it through the summer, and that's your renovation project. So get out and do something on these cool days. Wonderful weather to do this kind of transplanting on. I'll give these plants a drink, and I won't have to water them again for some time. Okay, take care, and I'll see you the next time.